I don't know. I have a issue. I love my emotions. My favourite part of myself, actually. And I truly, I was looking at just all sweet, all good. And I just,
From like Norway back from last station, but a station and
sweet. Not there nor now. Yeah, they've got a monster place in Duncan and I've got a long thing where but it's like
1, 2, 2, yeah. Welcome, everyone. It's time to make yourselves comfortable, please. We're going to start in a minute or two. No, that's good. Duncan would have been proud. Dear friends, welcome to this circle we hold together in the shade of Duncan's passing and the light of his living. My name is Sean, a friend, and on behalf of Terry, Duncan's beloved, and his darling daughters, Frankie and Riley, his brother Andrew, his mom and dad, Margie and Alistair, and our gracious hosts here today, Bern and Paul and Lindy, thank you for joining us here and online, guided here by the love that you hold in your heart for Duncan and his loved ones, guided here by that love. In a sense, we've all traveled a lifetime to be here after everything that's happened in our lives, our different journeys to this moment. Right now, here we are, together in time and place and purpose. And our purpose today is simply this: to celebrate our love for Duncan that we share, and to acknowledge and share our grief at his departure, and perhaps to learn how to reconcile these two things, love and loss. But that's difficult, this simultaneous letting go and holding on. We become aware that as we experience loss today, and the burden of our grief is made lighter by our being together, so too our love for Duncan is magnified by our being together as well. Love and loss are shared alike. Light and shade, life and death, big things to hold, to carry, to wrap our heads and our hearts around. We might look to the ever-practical Duncan for some clues as to how to do that. We look at the Buddhist teachings that he loved, the impermanence of all things, for starters, as we gather to cement in our hearts what we learnt from him, acknowledging what has now become a part of us, a community formed by Duncan with a task that he has helped prepare us for. And that task is to live. So as we begin this celebration, may we all receive blessing upon blessing. The blessing of simply being in this world, right now in this present moment, and being alive with our beating hearts and our breath for now. And may we also realize our own power to bless, to heal, to renew one another, to forgive each other, and to forgive ourselves. Reflected in each other, we are a rare and special and amazing community, called into being by our love, our dad, our son, our brother, our friend, Duncan McDuff. We are going to hear from Duncan's brother, Mac, now.
Got to get the glasses on. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mac, and I'm Duncan's older brother. Duncan was always known as the peacekeeper in our family, gentle and accepting.
As he started this final chapter of his journey, some of you might have noticed that he started being a little bit more direct, a little less fluffy around the edges, and quite a lot more assertive. That remained the case into his last days at home when I was sitting with him quietly in his room, holding his hand, trying to do everything to be present in the moment. Us Macduffs have always had clammy palms. And after about half an hour, he stirred, he opened his eyes, and very deliberately and slowly, he pulled his hand out of mine and said, "Sweaty." This was the last word he ever said to me. So typically Duncan. We've walked this road with him the last 5 years, knowing that this day would eventually arrive. But this week, I've been at a loss for words to truly articulate what it meant to have Duncan as a brother. He honestly felt like my twin. Our brotherly bond has always been central to who I am as a person. Being Duncan's brother has been the greatest privilege of my life. Earlier this year, we were hugging at the back of a festival dance floor. We love a dance floor and we love a hug. And I told him I'd won the lottery of life. Life is all about choices. You choose your wife, you choose your husband, you choose your partner, you choose your job, you choose your hobbies, you choose where you live, you choose how you live, and you choose why you live. But you don't get to choose who your brother's going to be. The lottery of life gifted me Duncan as a brother, and for that I will always be eternally grateful. Our happiest moments have always been when deeply immersed in nature, hiking mountains, chasing trout, spotting birds, walking coastlines, photographing fynbos, swimming in streams, looking for dyes of flowers and gazing at stars. We squeezed a lot of life into the last few years, and recently we pretty much had the best day ever, exploring the Porphyry region of the Kruger Park on foot, surrounded by the most beautiful African bush that only exists in your dreams, but is now in front of your eyes. We walked into Lana Gorge, carved by the Luvuvu River. Giant jackleberry and baobab trees. Around us, and elephant herds on the opposite bank. There were tigerfish in the river and falcons sweeping overhead. Duncan was so happy, vibrating with energy. Brothers in nature. If there is a heaven, then surely this is it. And I like to think that Duncan is back there, soaring with eagles. One of the things that has brought me great joy this week has been the hundreds of beautiful messages and photographs that have been posted on Duncan's Bardo meditation group that has turned into an impromptu memorial page. These messages are again a reminder that Duncan was the ultimate chameleon. He was able to adapt and morph into any situation and make people feel comfortable. There were posts from people who have only known him more recently through his meditation practice. The calm, peaceful, serene, wise, Buddha-like Duncan. Then there are the posts from his UCT days. Funny, wild, accident-prone, drunken Duncan. Then travel Duncan, ski seasons in Vail, running with the bulls in Pamplona, full moon parties in Thailand, salmon fishing in Scotland, and 1,000 other adventures. Don't forget the festival guy. A lot of you know him. Eyeliner, desert dancing, fancy dress, Africa burn, hedonistic Duncan. The much respected and lesser known management consultant Duncan. The nature guy Duncan, patiently teaching us all about birds, flowers, leopards, and the wonder of the natural world around us. The net sass Duncan, who championed the care of cancer patients on the global stage. Then, of course, there was the family Duncan, with Terry, Riley, and Frankie at the center of his world. Duncan would enter into your orbit and make you feel like the world was a better place. This was his gift, and this is his legacy. A few weeks ago, on the last day of the last trip to his beloved cabin in the mountains, Duncan finally saw a leopard in the flesh. He locked eyes with the young male leopard for a full 10 seconds, and they stared into each other's eyes before moving away back into the fynbos. Duncan told me last week, because he keeps a note of these things, that he had visited the cabin 110 times since Terry and him had built it, and had captured thousands of hours of footage on his camera traps, but had never seen one of these elusive cats. I believe this was the moment that Duncan was waiting for to be set free. The last week of Duncan's life was spent at home in a beautiful bubble of love, and he died with all of us at his side. We were holding his hands. It was the most peaceful, beautiful, powerful, intense moment of my life. It was exactly how he had planned, every one of his wishes honored. To end off, I want to read some words that Duncan wrote to me a few weeks ago. He sent me what he called a love letter, and this is how he ended it. These are his words. We've said it before, and it's also beyond words, but I guess with deep love comes deep grief. You can't have one without the other, and I choose this path with your deep love any day. I love you, but now and forever.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. It's lovely to see such an amazing turnout and for all your beautiful, beautiful words that have been pouring in. It really does mean a lot. There's going to be much more said about Duncan today, and I have decided just to read a poem and maybe a story at the end. So this is a poem it's called To Honor You by Connie Kiefer Baird. To honor you, I get up every day and take a breath and start another day without you in it. To honor you, I laugh and love with those who knew your smile and the way your eyes twinkled with mischief and secret knowledge. To honor you, I take the time to appreciate everyone I love. I now know there's no guarantee of days or hours spent in their presence. To honor you, I listen to music you would have liked and to sing at the top of my lungs with the windows rolled down. To honor you, I take chances, say what I feel, hold nothing back, risk making a fool of myself, and dance every dance. You are my light, my heart, my gift of love from the very highest source. So every day I vow to make a difference, to share a smile, to live, love, laugh. And now that I live for both of us, all I do to honor you. And I will find many, many micro joys in every day, because that's what he wanted and told us to do. And also, Dr. Seuss said, don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. And I think that's very, very true. Thank you.
So what an amazing turnout. I just look around at this sea of faces and I think this is what Duncan would have liked. We look behind us and we see the mountain, which was his special place, and you, his special people. So, talking as a father, it is a gift and a privilege to have two wonderful sons. And I shall probably cry quite a lot. So could I have some water, please? But that's what's expected. So, as I say, I have two wonderful sons. But sadly, we're here to honour and celebrate only one. We all have our memories of times with Dunks, and today is a day to reminisce and to share those special moments. As you can imagine, I have found it very difficult to write this speech and to capture who Dunks was in a 5-minute talk. And I think Andrew said it beautifully. Dunks was a chameleon. And he had so many different aspects to his personality, which, thinking back, and Margie will agree, were evident from an early age. So I don't think Dunks would mind me telling this story as an example of his enthusiastic participation in events. For example, despite being a poor swimmer, he entered the under-6 inter-house gala relay. And when it was his turn, he dived into the deep end and, overestimating his swimming skills, sank like a stone to the bottom of the pool in front of the shocked spectators, only to be scooped out by the headmistress. And this was the first of many Dunks rescues. And there follow many incidents, including getting run over outside Forrester's Arms. And I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from the gentleman sitting next to Terry. His name is Boris. 3 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Mack, he says, do you have medical aid, and what's your medical aid number? I said, who's that? He said, it's Boris. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, Boris said to me, Dunks got run over. I said, that's impossible. He was swatting for accounting 1, which I think he'd repeated 3 times, I can't remember. And I was busy teaching him the difference between debits and credits. I'm in Joburg, he's in Cape Town. And eventually I gave up. And I said, Dunks, it's a lost cause, just see what you can do. So when eventually I spoke to Boris, I said, it can't be Duncan. He went to bed early at 11 o'clock. No, said Boris. We decided to go for a drink at Forries to settle our nerves. And Dunks had been given a new cashmere sweater by Jane, and he decided he didn't want that messed up in the bar. So he took it off, ran across the road, pouring rain, bang, and he was hit and run over by a guy in a BMW. And luckily this guy stopped, picked him up, took him off. An hour later, Boris and all the drunks said, where is Duncan? What's happened? Ooh, they said, let's go downstairs and see. And they talked to someone, a bystander. Oh, they said, was the guy in the white T-shirt? Yeah, no, he got run over, he's gone to hospital. Now, there's a repeated theme, and I'm going to tell another story about Duncan and Boris, because they go back one hell of a long time. And the one thing that Andrew didn't mention is Duncan was a pyromaniac. And he was a pyromaniac of note. And if I can see Les Kennedy, his uncle, is he here? Where's Les? There's Les. We're at the trout farm, and Duncan and Boris, I don't know how old they were, Les, about 10, 11, decided they wanted to go into the forest and make a fire with the pine cones. And the wind came up, and 15 acres of forest burnt down. And Les, I think you should send Boris the account now. So let's get back to Dunks. And then he fell on Little Lion's Head, and I got a phone call from Margie. Jane and I were living in Adelaide. We're in the supermarket, walking out. Margie says, hello, Alistair, how are you? I said, I'm fine. And she says, Dunk's fine, he's okay, he's all right. So I said, what do you mean? Well, she said he fell off Little Lion's Head and broke both his ankles, had to be rescued by Mountain Rescue, and he's in hospital now. So these are the phone calls that I have memories of Dunks. Now let's go back, as Andrew mentioned, as a young child, his curiosity and love of nature was clear to see by his passion for frogs, interest in snakes, and I had to feed his collection with live mice when he went to school at Michael House. He did bird watching and fishing, and his weekly letters from Michael House, because in those days it was compulsory. Luke, you didn't write me a letter, did you? Why not? Huh? Naughty boy. And these letters were filled with his love of nature and were often hilarious. So here's a small example, written to Margie and I. How's Elka, Meg, those are his dogs, and the birds? Is Meg allowed on my bed? If not, please let her. How's the pigeons and the Gouldian finches? Are my snakes okay? Today I held a red-lipped herald that one of the guys in Baines caught. It's a pretty little snake. Then he goes on, how are my convicts? Now, if there are any fish keepers here, you'll know that the convicts is a tropical fish. So that's the sort of thing. And then in another letter, very simple, short to the point. All good here, except I was lashed 3 last night for causing trouble in the dorm. So these early interests were carried on later with his fascination with bees, succulents, fynbos, fishing, wildlife, and of course, as Andrew's mentioned, his beloved leopards. So these anecdotes aside, as a father, looking back and moving on to the man we all love and admire, he grew into a rounded person. Professional at work, enthusiasm, joy of life, warmth, empathy, a quirky sense of humour, which always left me wondering how he came up so spontaneously with his repartee. And although he was an independent spirit, and Terry would know this, and very tolerant, he could be single-minded and, as you know, very stubborn. He was very proud of his Macduff clan heritage and at any excuse would wear his kilt, which sometimes got him into trouble when they suspected he was a cross-dresser in nightclubs. But he never let that put him off. So also, as Andrew alluded, for me as a father, looking at the WhatsApp memories that have been posted in these last few days, I too saw a different side to Dunks, which surfaced at various parties, including Africa Burn. And sometimes as a parent, you don't need to know everything about your son. And he packed more into his life than I had imagined in my wildest dreams. And he used to say to me, Dad, what goes on at Africa Burn stays at Africa Burn. But I've seen some of the photographs and it's enough, I can't handle any more. And what has also shocked me is his love for eyeliner. And that with his cross-dressing has left me with some very serious questions. Right, so now the wind is howling. As we all know, he was a loving and devoted husband to Terry, and I would like to thank her for her amazing support, courage, and resilience over the last 4 years. Terry, you were his rock. Margie, his mother, loved him and encouraged and nursed him through his worst days and spent hours at his bedside and kept Jane and I informed of medical developments as we were in Joburg. Andrew, you were more than his brother in arms, and as we've just heard, together with Bridge, were a huge help and support for Duncan and Terry. On a personal note, Jane, or WSM, does anybody know what WSM is? Exactly. The wicked stepmother, as Dunks called her. She has been my support and strength through this roller coaster and difficult journey. Thank you. Now, as Andrew said, Dunks faced dying with courage, resilience and bravery, and in doing so touched the lives of many, and that's, everybody here is a testament to that. But in ending, I'd like to say a few words to our granddaughters, the apples of his eye, Riley and Frankie. Quite simply, you have one of the most special dads in the world. Your dad was very proud of you and loved you very much. And he has given you wonderful values that will see you through life. His presence will always follow you. So Duncan has made a difference in all our lives and displayed a wisdom beyond his years, for which we will always be grateful and blessed. I am a proud father. And will miss him. I always get a falsetto when I cry, sorry about that. And I will miss him enormously.
Okay, hi everyone. Wow, there are a lot of people here. So, I'm Boris. Thanks, Alistair, for the introduction. Sadly, it's all true, except we weren't at Forries, we were at the Pig. And you're right, Duncan never worked out the difference between a debit and a credit. So I'm unbelievably fortunate to be here, right? I've known Duncan literally my entire life. There are pictures of me and Dunks and Mac and my older brother Hugh in the bath together. I've had the privilege of going on holidays with Macduffs pretty much my whole life. So we grew up as brothers. I loved Dunks as a brother, and obviously this has been a very tough week for all of us. So yeah, when I was thinking about what to say today, I decided I would write a letter to Dunks. So just bear with me while I read it. You'll see there's some common themes. We obviously know the Macduffs quite well. So here we go. Dear Dunks, Slimer, Slimeball, the real Slim Shady, Schmunken, and your nickname from university when cash was tight, Crime. Because crime never paid for a beer. I'm honored to be talking here today. Even though you had prepared me for this day, it has still not helped make it any less difficult. I will, of course, respect your wishes and treat this day as a celebration of your life. It will be with a few occasional tears, but I'm certain that today there will be more laughs about happy memories than tears shed. Dunks, I want to thank you for 3 things today. Firstly, I want to thank you for so many happy times and so many memories over the years. I have thought long and hard about which memory defined our relationship. I could not move away from the times that we spent at your family trout farm, Pleasant Ways. You played a massive part in my love for fishing. I recall so vividly the days when we would pick up our fly rods after breakfast and disappear for a full day of fly fishing, catching frogs, catching tadpoles, swimming in the weirs, and just generally messing around together. You will forever be in my heart, but especially when I'm throwing a fly line as I strive to become the fisherman that you are. You will also remember the day that we went into the pine forest in Dalstroom. Seeing a theme emerge here. Here's the real story, Alistair. With our older brothers, Andrew and Hugh. Our plan was to play with candles and see what we could burn in amongst the dry pine needles. To be fair to us, I do not think it was our idea, but rather our elder 8-year-old brothers who had come up with a plan. But we were, as always, 100% committed to the mission. The only advice we got from Andrew and Hugh was that if the pine needles caught fire, we should pick up a rock and throw it on the flames to smother them. Armed with this solid firefighting advice, a candle and a lighter, we separated from my older brothers and went off to learn how to burn things. Although we could never agree who decided to throw a bunch of pine needles on the candle to put the flame out, we could always agree on the fact that even today, we could never have picked up that rock we tried in vain to pick up that day to smother the ever-growing fire. In it together, always. Although the story did not end well for the forest, I think in many ways it is a great example of how our relationship developed over the years. We were always 100% committed to trying anything provided we were doing it together. Admittedly, we made some bad, but also some good decisions, and this resulted in us building some incredible memories together. You have my back, and I have your back, always. Thanks. As I look out at the smiles on the faces of your friends and family that are here today, it is clear to me that one of your superpowers is that you created so many happy times and memories with everyone in your life. I said that there were 3 things that I would like to thank you for. The second thing is for being an amazing family man. I still have no idea how you managed to convince Terry to fall in love with you. But you should be incredibly proud of your family. You and T have brought up 2 amazing girls, Riley and Frankie. And in many ways, this is really what life is all about. I want you to know that your family, friends, and Sarah and I will ensure that Terry and the girls get all the support and love they need in the years to come. I have your back, Dunks, always. The third and final vote of thanks is for how you have taught everyone here today to approach and live our lives. Someone mentioned this week that you have taught us how to die. Whilst I agree with that, I think it is more accurate that you have taught all of us here how to live. I've always known that there is this inner strength within you. You often concealed this strength, but I can remember many times when it was needed. You always stood up to be counted when it mattered. Thanks. Your bravery, strength, and positive outlook has been truly an inspiration and lesson to everyone here. This incredible inner strength that you possess allowed you to support and help all of us through the last few years, when it should have been the other way around. But you had our back, thanks, as always. All of us here today cannot thank you enough. Thanks. I don't yet have the strength to say goodbye to you. I'm ready, however, to commit that you will always have a massive place in my heart, and I will always remember the good times we had together, because I know that is what you would want. I'm going to miss you so much, thanks. I cannot explain how much. I was so privileged to have shared my life with you. You have my back, and I have yours, always.
I'm Lindy, friend of Duncan. Just over a year ago, we stood beneath a pair of mighty jackalberry trees along the banks of the Crocodile River, bordering the Kruger Park. This was my wedding day, and this was the day that my very special friend, Duncan, became a reverend, and married me. Today, I get to stand beneath this beautiful mountain and get the greatest honor to speak about and celebrate the giant of a human being, that is Duncan MacDuff. Him and I spent many, many hours over the last 5 years, deeply reflecting on the direction his life had taken and what it meant to him. Never once did I see a single sign of resistance. Why me? Why is this happening? He was chosen to walk this path, and he knew it from day one. A few months ago, after his oncologist had given him 6 to 12 weeks left, we met up for breakfast. He was in huge pain, but he insisted on us still meeting. Armed with his little silver tin, carrying every painkiller known to mankind, he found such humor in having this little army of options in his pocket, available to him at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. At a point, I asked him a simple question. Dunks, what do you really want to be remembered for? Without hesitation, he looked at me deeply and said, mystery and mischief. Mystery, because Duncan has always moved through the world with curiosity. Have you ever read his WhatsApp profile? Slow down, be curious, and make a wish. He had this beautiful belief that life was something to be explored. He found meaning and excitement in the smallest moments. He asked questions that really mattered. He reminded us that there is magic in the unseen, the unknown, and the in-between. How many people do you know who get a one-on-one sitting with their own personal guru, Rinpoche? How many people do you know who dedicate their life to documenting the elusive Cape Mountain leopard, and then 2 weeks before his passing, has 3 sightings of this very creature? A 10-second eye lock, he told me afterwards. Who do you know who gets lit up about visiting a death cafe and is genuinely so excited to have found his soul carer, Sean, to plan his end-of-life celebration? This is the magic of Duncan. This is because he was connected to something greater. He had transcended to another realm, and we all had the privilege to share some of that magic with him. Mischief. I'm sure if we all compared notes, we've been touched by the gorgeous mischief of this man at some point. Be it in the workspace, at school, or on the sports field, outdoors catching fish, hiking mountains, harvesting bees, spotting birds, tracking wildlife. It was not hard to locate him on a dance floor, being the life and soul of any occasion. He didn't mind dressing up, and he didn't mind a bit of makeup. Africa Burn with Duncan was a pilgrimage. He carried that same naughty spirit wherever he went. How many people do you know that take happy clouds in their pajamas at home when they're preparing to die? I know a guy. And when life got heavy, he refused to let life become heavy. Even in the toughest moments of his journey, he chose joy, he chose love, he chose peace. And so today, for me, the most fitting way for us to honor and celebrate Dunks is not for us just to remember him, but for us to strive to be a little bit more like him, to let more mystery in, to pause long enough to notice something beautiful, to ask the deeper questions, to stay open, stay curious, and be willing to be surprised, and yes, to welcome in more mischief. Say yes when life is whispering. Don't stay stuck in the place you know you're not meant to be. Take the time to lighten someone's day, and don't take yourself too seriously. Carry that spark he carried so naturally and with such ease. Dunk showed us that life is not about what we achieve, but how we move through the world. He moved with wonder and curiosity. He moved with play and pure joy. He moved with heart and so much love. I want you all to take a few seconds to just close your eyes and think about the last time or the last few times you might have spent with Dunks. Think about the experience that you shared with him, where you were, your connection, and most importantly, think about how he made you feel. Was it his deep presence, the way he looked at you with that intense eye gaze, with his lazy left eye and that little smirk? Was it his genuine interest and care in your life, or his quirky sense of humor? Was it the love that poured out of every cell of his body? Just feel it. And I really invite you to embody this feeling and take some of this into your own life, into your relationships, your own spaces, into your world. There is a reason why Dunks was given 3 months to live, and he gave us an extra 4.5 years. What are you going to take from that gift? And how are you going to honor him? Let's say yes to more of life, yes to the mystery, yes to more mischief, yes to living a little bit more like Duncan did. Dunks, thank you for a friendship and soul connection that is beyond anything I have ever experienced. The conversations and love we shared was next level. We went beyond words. And we got to analyze and explore how that connection would feel when you were on the other side. What a gift. We will find you at every party, on every dance floor, at every braai. I'll look for you in the jackalberry trees, and I'll feel you in the waves. At the cabin, on the mountains, and in the bush, we'll find you dancing in the stars, the moon, the sun, and the clouds. Your spirit will never, ever leave us. I love you, my friend.
I'm not that tall. Thank you. Afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike. It's a difficult thing paying tribute to a friend as multidimensional as Dunks. He was a broad and deep human being, and he held opposites with ease. This might be the chameleon element that Mac was talking about. As the cool kids would say, he was all the things. He was deeply spiritual, but also hilariously irreverent. He could spend whole days looking for flowers and whole nights tearing up a dance floor. In the face of the most serious things, he was really quite funny. He used to say, "You can't kill happy." He went with the flow, but he always charted his own course. He could be as calm as a monk and occasionally behaved like Evel Knievel. He dressed like a boss and he gardened in the nude. True, right? Yeah. Way back when they called him crime, as Borry told us, because crime doesn't pay. But he had a heart as generous as the sun. Nature was his spiritual home, and he once flew a 6-foot polystyrene glider into the Grand Canyon. Recalling Dunks' life is impossible without peering through the lens of the last 5 years. Throughout his illness, Dunks was positive, accepting, intentional, open, grateful, and full to the brim with love. In the first year of his illness, we'd meet once a week for man coffee. In that year, he often expressed sadness, but I never heard him complain or bemoan his fate, not once. He said right at the beginning that he didn't want to fight. He never spoke about his struggle with cancer or his battle with cancer. It was always his journey. He accepted that it was his road to walk, and he put a great deal of intention into how he walked it. He wanted time with his family. He wanted to have fun with the people he loved. He wanted to travel and experience the world. And he wanted to be in nature. bathing in the delight of everything from dewdrops on a geyser to the majesty of the mountains. Intention's a funny thing. It's easy to have, difficult to live. With Dunks, that line ran straight through him. He set his intention and lived it with clarity, conviction, and joy. At the end of last year, in preparation for a Dave Matthews Band concert, Benj, Gaza, Dunks and I were strolling in a forest looking for elven, which are common around where I live. And someone asked Dunks whether he believed that he could be on the receiving end of a miracle. He just laughed in reply. He said, "This is the miracle. I'm still here. We're living the miracle, boys." And then lots of man-hugging. Perspective. He believed in the power of perspective so much that he had it inked on his arm. He's basically perspective's poster child. He lived that combination of intention and perspective in a way that I find, quite frankly, dumbfounding. He was absolutely and genuinely grateful for what he had experienced in life. Perhaps that's our choice too. I'm sad as hell you're gone, brother. I'm sad as hell you're gone, but I'm glad to the gills to have known you. Svaka my friend. We're told that love is the greatest of all the virtues. And if anyone's keeping score, Dunk's got 10,000 out of 10 for that one. He loved tea, obviously, very deeply, and he loved his girls and his family. He loved fynbos, he loved leopards, he loved fly fishing, the mountains, nature. He loved bees, birding, Big Bear, their cabin in the mountains at Baines, which is neither big nor populated by bears. And he really loved that name. He loved his friends, and he loved getting twisted in the desert with his friends. He loved feathers in his beard and the occasional dabble in the river of rampant hedonism. He loved sharing his love of nature with the next generation. But most of all, I'm not sure I know anyone else that I so readily associate with so many things, wholesome things. I can feel his invitation in there somewhere for us to consider what we love and to nurture those things deeply. He loved and he was loved. He said to me a few weeks ago, that the love he felt from this community, from all of us, was one of the things that kept him going. He felt it, he was nurtured by it, and he was very, very grateful for it. For all of his virtues, one of the things that Dunks didn't have much of a relationship with was fear. He didn't fear thick lashings of eyeliner, or a light shopping expedition, or leather pants so tight you could see the contours of his manscaping, or ratty. His lack of fear occasionally bordered on clinical. In the early days of the Jello, our rickety go-kart that we took to the burn until it got stolen outside my house and sold for scrap metal, Benj had to ban him from driving for bad behavior. Now, if Benj
is banning you from something at the burn. He also wasn't afraid of treating rules as guidelines. He navigated by his own North Star and delighted in finding a shortcut. The man had an eye for the gap like Colby. At university where we met, Dunk somehow discovered that there was a university canoe club that had resources but no members. He wasted exactly 0 time drafting a constitution, appointing himself chairman, and claiming the golden key to the boat club. We set about taking advantage of those institutional resources with a zeal that was only matched 20 years later by the Guptas. Dunk said over and over again that he wasn't scared of dying. It's a man of extraordinary courage or conviction, or perhaps both, that heads towards the great mysterium with such open arms. His spiritual beliefs allowed him to walk that road wide awake, with grace and compassion for those around him, ensconced in giant bubbles of love. One of the last things that I saw from Dunk's was his WhatsApp profile that Lindy talked about earlier. Slow down, be curious, make a wish. It's hard to tell if that was an invitation or an instruction, but I'm taking that to heart. Farewell, Jello Man. Gonna miss you.
Sure, I'm with that all. Okay. There are very strong themes running through all of these speeches. It's kind of a different way to say things. I'll try. Until a few weeks ago, I'd occasionally declare there's no need for panic. Duncan MacDuff will still be here in 20 years' time, living his magnificent life, all paid for by Discovery. Because if anybody could pull that off, it would be Duncan. Crime doesn't pay. And a tiny part of me wanted to believe it. Anna, my partner, would often comment on Duncan's profound dignity and enlightenment, and I'd counter that I knew him a lot better than she did, and he was just a naughty little shit. Like, he was, in fact, I think, without any charade or pretense, both things at the same time. And I think that's what made him so very special. With singular authenticity, he was a joyfully, exuberantly enlightened hooligan. As only he could, he rewrote a tragic narrative as a hero's journey and found meaning, hope, and humor where most of us could never bear to look. A journey undertaken with courage, curiosity, and a refusal to be defined by sickness or pain. And he never lost that naughty spark. Now, as I reflect on our friendship, I realize that he always danced through life with this quiet, unassuming wisdom. His joy for life and magnetic positivity always drew people into his orbit. Life was a series of grand adventures for Duncan, and I'm so grateful that we shared some of these. So thankful that occasionally I got to cavort through life with him with such joy. His friendship has been a beautiful gift to me and to many, many others. And I will miss him terribly. I know that he leaves a gaping hole in the lives of people who loved him most. Terry, Riley and Frankie, Mac and your family, Margie and Alistair. He is loved by so many, and as are all of you. I think we all find divinity in different places. and Duncan and I both found some of our gods in the rivers and the mountains and the trees and the leopards. We bonded deeply through a shared connection to the natural world. When he asked me to make a drawing for the shard that he was creating, all of the themes we discussed centered around the earth. I wound up writing an essay about the drawing I made for him, which symbolized the connectedness of everything on earth. He asked me to read it here today, and I'd like to honor this request as best I can. I can't read it all, so I'll read some of it, which I've abbreviated as much as I can. Please bear with me, it reads the tone of Standard 8 biology teacher ate all the mushrooms. The eternal dance. All water on earth is ancient. It has been here since the beginning. A fixed tally of molecules moving in endless pilgrimage through cloud and ocean and soil and leaf and blood. In this ceaseless turning, nothing can be destroyed and nothing can be made from nothing. The forms may change, but the substance endures. The water that pulses through your body now may once have rested in the sap of a Jurassic fern. There's no new water, only water reborn. Water is the earth's memory, a shimmering archive of everything that has ever lived and all that is still to come. Nothing is lost and nothing is created anew. All is only transformed. By the warmth of the sun, water evaporates, condenses into clouds and falls back to earth. It seeps through the soil, nourishing plants. It flows through every living creature on earth. And at every stage, water carries life's essence. It forms a matrix in which chemistry becomes biology, matter becomes life, and energy becomes consciousness. Through photosynthesis, plants enact a grand alchemy. With sunlight as a catalyst, they part the bonds of water molecules. Oxygen is released. Hydrogen joins carbon to weave the sugars of life. The fire of sun is held in the tiny, bright bonds of glucose, light transformed into matter. If photosynthesis stores the sun's energy, respiration releases it. Matter is now transformed into life itself. In every living cell, oxygen reacts with glucose, breaking the bonds forged by sunlight. Carbon joins oxygen and returns to the air. Hydrogen finds oxygen and becomes water again. And energy is released as the warm pulse of life. This intricate choreography of energy is a divine balance. Hydrogen and oxygen joined in water are divided by light and then reconnected by breath. Carbon absorbed from the air becomes fruit and flesh before returning to soil and sky. The earth's energy, harnessed by plants, becomes motion, thought, and consciousness. Every molecule, every organism, every heartbeat participates in this unbroken dialogue between the elements and the living world. It is a sacred communion between water, air, earth, and fire, between Mother Earth and Father Sky. We are not separate from this cycle, but inextricably part of it. Momentary gatherings of water and light, briefly conscious of our own participation in the eternal flow of life on earth. To live is to borrow these atoms, to take part for a little while in the never-ending balance of creation and return. And perhaps that's what life truly is, not a possession, but a passage. And every drop of water, breath of air, every ray of light, and every grain of soil, the universe repeats the same inviolate truth. All things are connected. Everything is transformed. Nothing is lost.
Good afternoon. I'm Johnny. I was fortunate enough to meet Duncan in 2009 in one of my favorite parts of the world, the Orange River. He was possibly the only other person interested in spotting an Orange River white-eye, so we connected instantly. I was recently single and most of my other friends were married, and I was happily adopted by the merry crew that is closely connected to Duncan T. And so began several years of wonderful times, connecting through a shared love of birds, curiosity of the world, which we've already heard, the natural and human-made. We've all talked about the many awesome photos shared on Duncan's Celebration of Life group, and definitely they highlighted a few key characteristics. Duncan had this ability, which you've heard, to be both playful and philosophical at the same time. Fortunately, Benj, Mike have already introduced the famous jellyfish of the Tankwa. And I was reminded of a conversation or series of conversations we had that afternoon on the jelly, dressed in wigs and top hats, as of course you do. We were discussing the Karoo ecosystem. We also discussed the biases of mainstream media, because we'd just seen that on an art installation. And then, of course, the importance of being in the present moment after we stopped at a tea stop, aptly named Wherever You Go, There You Are. Duncan always had a unique perspective, an interesting way of seeing things. Debate was to be encouraged. And you can hear from Benj's last piece, there was plenty of debate and discussion. The other thing I noticed, though, was Dunks had an interesting way of making natural discoveries or findings. And he liked to detail these findings, kind of hypothesize about maybe the identification, the origin of the finding. And then I've seen from the photographs, he liked it to be photographed pointing at the various findings that he was explaining to anybody around that would listen. For example, Joe and I, we have a great picture that was given to us by Duncan T as a fridge magnet that has Duncan pointing, me, Joe, Terry, looking on in rapt attention to a find we made when we were walking in the Namakwa National Park. It was about 10 centimeters long. It was curved and ribbed. It appeared petrified. There was much debate about this finding. Perhaps it was a trachea of a small animal, maybe a fossil. We discussed how old this could be, whether fossils had ever been found in this area, and how we could maybe determine the age of this fossil. Sometime later, though, we disappointingly had to concede that, in fact, this was man-made and a very bizarre broken piece of plastic. It was a bit disappointing. Joe and I had a relationship with very similar timelines to Duncan and Terry, with their magical wedding at Beloftusbos just a month before ours. And I remember their wedding very well, and the creativity that shone through on that day, and the quality of the speeches like today, and of course their wedding favor of raw honey. It was my first introduction to Duncan's interest in bees, and of course his bee lekker philosophy, which some of you may know, and which he embodied and taught his girls. Our girls were also born in very close succession to each other. Riley, Juliet, Frankie, and Faye. And now they follow each other in great order at the same lovely little pink school, Micklefield. So over the years, our friendship morphed from grand adventures, amazing joys at finding life partners, to becoming father of 2 girls. Lots to learn and discuss we had. We both loved being fathers, threw ourselves into supporting our growing families, making breakfast buns at the school sports day, selling books at the market. However, sadly, with his cancer diagnosis just short of 5 years ago, and my medical background, our journey took a different course. I called on my medical family's experience, both in dealing with facing a terminal illness and also with treating neuroendocrine tumors. We sat in his garden, my offices, and then over countless coffees nearly every week. We were actually fortunate to be able to have leaders in this rare tumors available to form a multidisciplinary care team able to treat him. But it was a hard journey. We would talk about upcoming treatments. I would try to explain, and then of course he would remind me that he and Terry had discussed this and they had a low bar of expectations. He worried mainly about others, how they were coping, did they have the information they needed to understand what was going on. Amazingly, there were some targeted therapies that he responded very well to in those first 2 years, really exceeding all of our expectations. I started out as the one with the knowledge, but some of you has known, I think Mac mentioned, that Duncan went on to, in fact, become a major patient advocate and leader in the international patient organizations for these rare cancers called NetSAS. I'm actually a doctor of several rare diseases, and I can really attest to the value of these advocacy roles, and they cannot be underestimated. They're thankless, but incredibly powerful ways to help people facing similar conditions, and they actually really make a difference in advocating for research and science in a particular area. The transition of Duncan from patient to advocate to teacher epitomizes his remarkable strength of character and his generosity of spirit. He was in fact like this across the board in all other areas he covered. So in the beginning, I remember asking him, Duncan, are you spiritual? Do you have a spirituality? His answer at the time was, I need to look into that. Fast forward, and as we've heard, there he was having a meeting with the Rinpoche and talking about his experience and how the impact of everyday meditation has been for him. As time went past, he drank less coffee, and we needed to find warmer venues for our meetings. Ever thoughtful, creative, curious about the world, would break medical discussions with discussions about adventures in the natural world. We spent a long time strategizing about taking our girls to the Strandfontein sewage work for bird watching. What would be most likely to capture their imagination and turn them into future bird watchers? We decided treats and keeping it short was the conclusion. And after our morning out, T asked Frankie whether she'd like to go bird watching at Strandfontein every Saturday. She said maybe every second Saturday? He talked with intention about his girls and the many things his future self might say. Remarkably, he continued to show up for school events, seemingly morphing from running the parents-daughter races to himself delegating these to Terry and him judging at the finish line in his wide-brimmed hat. I think Juliet and I may even have gained a lucky place from this, though I like to claim it was down to my skills of hopping and beanbag balancing. He was there right till the very end, and he joined us for the fathers and daughters line dancing just 3 weeks ago. I've seen many families here from Micklefield, and I think it really speaks to the passionate way that Dunks and T love and show up for Riley and Frankie. A better dad you girls could not have wanted for. I've also got no doubt that our Micklefield community will do everything to continue to surround your girls with the love that they need to grow, thrive, be lekker, and shine your light into the world. Duncan was also fortunate, I am fortunate to have a big sister that knows a lot more about handling tough situations than me. And she was actually also able to help Duncan and Terry out in some of their darker moments. And she offered me a brief letter for Duncan. There are few people one meets that leave a lasting impressions on one's soul. Duncan was one of those people. Never in my life or in my career have I met a person more able to use the intense injustice of illness to powerfully impact so many. Duncan made the lives of everyone who met him better. Every day he did that. While I know he loves leopards and they have a deep symbolism to him, for me, I encountered a lion heart and a brave heart. It was Duncan's lion-hearted spirit that was awe-inspiring. He has the spirit of a man who held up a body, a family, a community far beyond any earthly body could do. His spirit allowed him to live with courage, selflessness, positivity, empathy to all around him, even strangers in the midst. He lived be lekker at a level I've never yet seen, to nurses, to his fellow roommates in the hospital, to the tea lady. In the hardest of circumstances, never once did I see a flicker of him thinking about himself. His warmth, good humor, his radiance, his calmness, his analytic, far-thinking thoughtfulness never faltered. In fact, I watched those qualities grow, gather momentum, and in any situation, he would try to think of how to make whatever it was easier for those around him. Even the last time we spoke, he managed to thank me for coming, while at the same time quizzically saying he was a little unsure as to why I was there, because he thought that we were meant to be going fishing instead. Duncan liked to think ahead, and when he became fearful, he would think about the future. What I know from our many conversations is that the single thing that gave Duncan the most comfort in those moments was knowing that the community around him was loving and strong, and that they would stand up in their love for him to be there for Terry, Riley, Frankie, and his family. He knew in his soul that you all loved him, and he knew the power of that loving community. He knew the strength of common purpose, of the greatness of love, and the power of that in his life and the lives of his family. He was deeply comforted by the love he shared with all around him, and the certainty that love would comfort and tightly shield his family from now into eternity. The day before he died, Duncan gave me a gift of a set of cards featuring beautifully illustrated birds and daily meditations to pick at random for moments of reflection. The next day, on the day of his death, of 100 cards, I chose and I selected the card that said, "A friend is a wing for ascending from dusky ground, of cautiously covered, contrary yet overlapping parts grooved with habits towards a perfect whole, bright with pure being." Duncan, it's been an honor and a privilege to be your friend and share moments with you. We will all miss you so much, but we will see your resilience, your strength, and your spirit in all who love you.
Dear Dad, one of the things I remember most clearly from when I was little was hiking Rock Alley, sitting on your shoulders, singing Mr. Golden Sun. My favorite thing was to be in nature with you, whether it was checking leopard pictures together, playing backgammon, or even just swimming in Judge's pool. It makes me feel so happy when someone shows a picture of me when I was little, or even when you were little, and they can't decide if it is me, or you or me. You have been the best dad to me, and I wouldn't change a thing about you. Thank you for being my dad. I love you so much. Well done. Thanks. Can I just say, a lot of you have stolen my lines, so there's going to be a little bit of repetition. Duncan, when I married you on the 1st of December 2012, almost 13 years ago to the day, I claimed to your mum, after your long line of accidents, operations, and near-death experiences, "Not on my watch." However, your life and your journey towards death have been a magnificent gift. This is not the outcome I would ever have chosen, but I would choose you again every time. You have shaped me, taught me, and I want to thank you. You taught me about miracles. People often said to me that they were hoping for a miracle, but what I've come to understand is that you were a miracle. You are a miracle. You were given months, if not weeks, and we had 5 years so full of love and adventure, and that's a miracle. The way you helped others healed you, and that's a miracle. We all know about the leopard story, but we saw an actual Cape leopard together in Bainskloof a few weeks ago, just 2 weeks before you died, and that's a proper miracle. You single-handedly delivered your eldest daughter into this world, and that's a miracle. You taught me about intentionally making memories. Duncan Robert Macduff, 03/03/1977 -2011-2025. What matters is the dash between the dates, how we lived and how we loved. When you were diagnosed, a doctor told us to go and make memories, and we definitely did that. We had the year of the rock pool, where we had to swim in 25 different rock or tidal pools. We had the year of the hike, a minimum of 12 different hikes of minimum 10 kilometers each, toddlers and all. You were very specific and very bossy. We had the year of the tent with multiple camping trips. We had the year of the festival, my most fun, definitely. And after the year of the festival was the year of organic wash, your made-up term for let's just go with the flow. Your 3 girls will continue adventuring, remembering, and making memories. I promise you that. You taught me about perspective. It's inked into both of us forever, and a few others here. You taught me it's okay to be okay, and to respond to fear, not with despair, but with curiosity. And your perspective on fear gave me permission to do the same. You taught me about gratitude, which has become my antidote to fear, and I'm so grateful for the way you navigated these past 5 years. Always with grace, always with a smile. You never ever once asked, why me? You taught me about the gift of time, that life is now, this minute, it's all we have and it's all we need. You taught me about impermanence, that dying is the opposite of leaving. It's hard to imagine my world without you in it, but what you've taught me is that you will always be here. You will always be in it. I will see you in Riley's deep brown eyes and her questionable dance moves. I will see you in the leopard tracks on the footpaths and the new leaves on our pin oak tree. I will see you in the ink on my skin. I will see you in the happy clouds, the rise of a fish and the swarming bees. I will hear you when the Cape rock thrush wakes us at sunrise. Are you okay? I will hear you when the Cape rock thrush wakes us at sunrise and when the river crashes into Judge's Pool. I will definitely hear you in Frankie's quirky laugh and in Riley's bedtime whispers. I will feel you when the rising winter sun hits the cabin deck and when Franks picks up a rock she knows you would love. I will feel you when I'm dancing in the dust, and I will feel you when the girls give me a squeeze hug so tight I can't breathe. You saw beauty everywhere, and I will feel you when I notice the small things, the miraculous in the ordinary. Thank you for showing me the small things. I will know it's actually you when I remind the girls to be like her. Thank you for showing me the world through your eyes. You taught me without trying to teach, and I am richer for it. We all are. Yes, the Dizers speak for themselves, but we loved your teaching on their miraculous size. I will not know what to do when the solar doesn't work or when the pool goes green. Some things are impossible to teach me, but you gave me numbers to call for that. Riley, your dad delivered you into this world on the bathroom floor. The most exquisite moments of our lives, and he will laugh with us when we tell that crazy story. Benj, not so much. Dad is intertwined in you, my Roo. You're beautiful like him. You love openly like him. You're fiercely independent like him, and you're stubborn just like him. 20 minutes before you arrived in the world, he convincingly told me I was not in labor. And the next thing, he had you squirming in his hands. You correct me when I tell the story of your birth, and you get that belligerence from your dad. More than anything, he is in you, and you will feel him throughout your life. He will answer you through nature in a different way than before, but I promise you will hear him. Franks. Ooh. Franks. Your dad had a front row seat to your entrance into this world, and he's been in the front row of your delicious life for 10 beautiful years. You carry his wicked sense of humor, and when you crack us up with your weird accents and your independently moving eyebrows, we will know he's in there. You notice the small things. You perceive beauty everywhere. You collect all the rocks and sticks and flowers, just like your dad. When you next pick up a heart-shaped rock, you will know it's him, reminding you how much he loves you. He is your dud, and you are his foot, and he has left handprints in your heart. Riley and Franks, I've got you, and we have each other. We're a stool with 3 legs, holding each other up, our strength in our love. We are enough. We will be okay, and Dad has taught us that it's more than okay to be okay. Bern, Paul, and Lindy, where are you? Oh. Thank you for today. It's a monumental gift of love for both Duncan and I, and you know how much we treasure your friendship. The Gunt will always be with you, Bernie, especially when Paul and I are up to no good. Caro, who's not here, but there would be no food without you today. Thank you for pulling a delicious rabbit out the hat. Natty K, thank you for bringing Duncan back in larger than life size. After the ceremony, we'll be holding a live auction for this masterpiece. Barry, thank you for the beer, and thank you for not starting that forest fire with Dunks. We know it was Mac. My besties, my friends who are like family, thank you for all the things, all the love, all the time. Duncan's medical team, Marguerite is here today, an almost all-female team of brilliant specialists. Thank you for your skill in treating Duncan and giving us the gift of time. The non-official but very official panel of Peters, Johnny Whoops, Larissa, and Eugene. Words will never do justice to my gratitude. You embody love, selflessness, compassion. We would not have made it this far without you. Thank you. Margs, my incredible mum-in-law, I love you. We have been a team through every oncology appointment, every scan, every hospital stay, every late night emergency, all the highs and all the lows. Thank you for always being there. We make a great team. Bridge and Mac, not my brother and sister-in-law, but my brother and sister in life. You won the lottery with Duncan, but I won the lottery with you. By choosing him, I was gifted you. You are my family, my best friends, and I love you so much. To everyone here, thank you for being our friends. There are 100 indigenous saplings in Bern and Paul's driveway, somewhere on the other side. There's more than 100 people here, but there are 100 saplings. Please take one home, plant it in your garden, water it with love, and watch it grow, and remember Dunks when you sit in its shade. A wise man once told me that the more you celebrate, the more you celebrate. And Duncan's wishes for today were to celebrate hard. I quote from his 8-page letter of wishes. I'm not going to read the whole thing, don't worry. So I quote, after the formal bits, all who feel inclined are warmly invited to a proper dance party at Camp Faraway with DJs, thank you Ravi, lights and joyful energy. It will be a celebration of love and life through music. Dressing up is encouraged. Let the night be filled with dancing, laughter, and connection under the stars. So let's honor Duncan's wish and celebrate him now. Duncan, Dunks, Dunkles, Runkles, Gunter, the Gunt, the chairman, Slim Shady, Slim, Stick, a whole bunch of other names that you guys mentioned. My Stick. It's been a privilege to walk beside you in life and to hold your hand in death. Thank you for seeing me, for being witness to my life, for loving me. There will be a Duncan-shaped print in my heart forever. See you in the valley of our dreams.
That's fine, thanks. I was just a little concerned that it was really hot over here, so if someone needs some water, put up your hand, we can get some fed through to you. Over there at the back, anyone else about to expire? We're okay? We're coming around the final corner. It's okay. All right. I got to know Duncan McDuff after he sent me an email on the 24th of January this year. Hi, Sean. I'm busy planning my memorial, as one does. Terry, Duncan, and I met at a cafe in Muizenberg a week later after they'd been for a morning swim. And on my way there, I was wondering, would it be appropriate to hug? And I was so gratified when I realized that they practically hug for Western Province. It really felt good. They were carrying a lot. And like you, I found their company so charming, so delightful, that once or twice I had to pinch myself to remember that one of us was destined to leave a little earlier, although there's no guarantee who that person would be, because none of us are guaranteed to wake up tomorrow morning. In Duncan's email, he wrote, 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer with a very poor prognosis. Since then, I've been actively preparing myself for death on a spiritual and practical level. I'm also using my circumstances to encourage others to be curious about death and start preparing. It's like I've been given some sort of unrequested license to open the door on these discussions, which I really enjoy. Franz Kafka, the Czech writer, said that death is the dark backing that a mirror needs if we are to see ourselves. Duncan had seen himself, and he invited us towards that mirror to say, look, the meaning of life is that it stops. I imagine it wasn't easy for anyone here to be pulled towards that mirror, as you all loved him so. Maybe we can only stand to look in that mirror for so long. It's like staring at the sun. But over time, Duncan bravely looked death in the face. And at first, maybe he learned how not to flinch, but then to gaze, curious, certainly to cry, definitely to laugh. And perhaps you stood there longer with him too, staring at death. For one thing I've learnt about death is that as soon as we engage with it and as soon as we talk about it, we start talking about life. Talking about death is very life-affirming, perversely. Still, waiting for death, passively, even actively, is never easy. We learn that death is not something that comes at the end of life, but it's always with us. When you look up from your table as the sun sets and you realize that this present moment is all you really have, that the past does not exist, nor the future, even though we trick ourselves that they do. Duncan's task that he set us to live must be done now, in the present, always in the present, and always by accepting the present, which he did with such courage. That is the sacred path to peace and joy, and accepting death in life and life in death. Understanding this, hey doggies, understanding this, we realize that seizing the present is never too late, because every moment is another chance, another opportunity to renew ourselves, to say yes to the present moment, to live now, not tomorrow. And with this attitude, as Duncan has demonstrated, some people pack more into one weekend than others experience in a year or a decade. Duncan learnt this, the value of time, which he wanted to share with us, even shout at us. He created a manifesto for today, a set of guiding principles for how we should gather here, which he wrote down and which I'll share with you in a moment. Don't worry, the font is really huge, so I don't need my glasses, so there's not like a whole lot of stuff here. We can say with total conviction that Duncan was at the party of life. He came to the feast of his senses. Duncan danced, he slept, he loved, he wept, he walked and wandered wide, into mountains and through streams, into the high, thin, cold air and through the valley mist. He became aware of the sound of his own breath and learnt it would leave him one day. And he understood it and heard his breath deepen and then slow and weaken as it finally left. Of all the elements when we die, the earth is first, a tremor when you lose your footing, becoming aware of your mortality. Then comes water, the emotions, flooding, tears, followed by fire, the heat of life, the fight to live, and finally air, breath. We see Duncan in the high mountain with breath puffing from his mouth, walking toward his final moments, so brave after looking deep inside. He held up the sun and called us close. He held us too when we cried for him and cried for ourselves. This most beautiful man who put such light and thoughtful kindness into our lives, a model of humility and courage. What an amazing guy. One of those special people who burn so bright that perhaps they can't burn forever, but whose life will always act as a yardstick for ours. Were you humble? Were you kind? Did you do for others as you wished they would do for you? The second time I spent with Duncan and Terry, I said it would feel quite weird for me to write something and give it to you before you die so that you can sign off on it. So I'm going to make Terry my client, if that's okay with you. And he said, yes, I've got enough to do. I've got quite a lot to do. I've got quite a lot of living to do. It reminds me of one of my icons, Bob Dylan, who sang, "He who ain't busy being born is busy dying." Duncan was always busy being born, marveling at life always into and through death, still being born. Leonardo da Vinci is alleged to have said that life is just a brief pause between two mysteries, birth and death entwined. We can't have one without the other. That day we sat outside in the beautiful garden, which has been such a solace to his family, and laughed and chatted and went through some of the names of people he wanted to speak today, the usual suspects. And then he shared principles for my farewell. So friends, this is what he wanted for today. which I hope we've done, and if we haven't, there's still time to remedy things. Number 1, celebrate love and friendship. Let this be a joyful celebration of the love and friendships I've shared. Number 2, embrace all emotions. Honor both joy and sadness. Number 3, encourage creative expression. 4, honor family and community. 5, provide space for reflection and sharing. 6, encourage personal tributes. 7, create a warm and inclusive atmosphere. Thank you, our hosts. 8, celebrate my connection to nature. I think we can tick that one off. 9, incorporate my spiritual principles. Infuse the gathering with mindfulness, compassion, and an awareness of life's impermanence, drawing from Buddhist teachings. 10, foster togetherness. There's one more, but I'll leave that for a moment. And I'm sorry I've taken longer than my 5 minutes. As I've mentioned, some say that the meaning of life is that it ends, perhaps in one form, and we become part of something else, bigger than ourselves, our energy transformed, our expensive proteins feeding other life forms, our souls traveling through time, who knows? But one thing is certain, and that is we were designed to die. We can take solace in that. The great circle of life and death closes like an ocean wave, washing onto the shore of life, washing our footprints away, so that only the vast ocean remains, impervious to our former existence here. In the end, Duncan's end in his present form, as we hurtle on this great rock through space, a tiny fleck in the universe orbiting massive distant constellations, we find with perhaps a little surprise that there are new things born in death, new challenges. What does death actually mean? What does Duncan's passing mean? What does life mean to us? It's such a deeply personal thing. Friendship, family, love. What is precious and what is petty, irrelevant, trivial? What can we learn to put down and let go? What do we need to forgive right now? So we learn that just as death is part of life, that life is part of death too, which might sound a little odd. But there is life in death, strangely enough, and a duty to live it well. Because Duncan's death shines a spotlight on how we live and gives us the gift of his attention, bringing us into this moment. The last part of his manifesto for today was this: end with hope and continuity. Conclude on a note of hope, honoring the lasting impact of our shared experiences and the love that continues beyond life. So here's my attempt. Margaret Atwood, the author, said that we all become stories. And like all the stories you've heard today, from Alistair, from Duncan's close friends, from Terry, and that we'll hear on into the night in coming days, months, years, and lifetimes, your stories and their words will help us recognize Duncan's eternal presence around us and within us. Your stories help us learn to accept that although Duncan appears to be no longer with us, he's always with us. That in his being gone, he somehow becomes ever present. How does that work? It's because his life has shaped ours. It's written into us. Is now part of us. So when you say the word Duncan, you communicate an entire set of values with each other, because you know what that word means. And you'll notice the most remarkable thing happen, and you can try this later this evening. When someone speaks about Duncan, you'll see that the love that he shared with that person is reflected again in their own eyes. And so you see, love never dies. It's passed on between us indefinitely. It's passed on in these stories we share. In closing, I'd like to pray for courage for this task to live, to be present to ourselves and each other, to practice compassion and steady kindness, to give instead of thinking what we might receive, to understand without the need to be understood, to love without the need to be loved. For yes, in giving we shall receive, in pardoning we shall be pardoned, and in dying we shall be born to eternal life. Amen. I'm going to invite John and Anna to come up and share a blessing with us, and we will then close off with a song.
Anna and I met Duncan and Terry in the dust at Camp IT at Africa Burn over a decade ago. We became very close to Duncan in the last 5 years through him joining our meditation group. As a group, we studied the Buddhist Bardo teachings, which provide a detailed roadmap on how to prepare for death and what to expect after your death. The moment of death in Buddhism is revered as the most sacred moment of your life's journey, and one is encouraged to meet this with joy and curiosity, and not fear, viewing this as a great adventure, your journey home.
Some time ago, Duncan asked us both to provide spiritual support to him through his dying process, and this has been one of the greatest privileges of our lives. What follows are multiple blessings inspired by Duncan's beautiful, remarkable life and his grounded embodiment of meeting his own death with fearless curiosity, courage, and deep acceptance. These Duncan-infused blessings are woven into a part of a meditation practice which Duncan did daily, the nectar of the path, and which gave him deep solace.
Precious human birth. Begin by cultivating a sense of delight in the qualities of the freedoms and riches. Milu yonten du me dak nichen, yin pa shene gatroje yirang. Seeing its many wonderful qualities, I rejoice and delight in this human life. May our lives be filled each day with micro-joys. May we wake early on a misty morning to walk up the mountain to witness the fleeting beauty of the flowering geysers. May we each express ourselves to our full, unique, and glorious potentials. May we chase meteor showers around the peninsula at 3 a.m. on a dark winter's morning.
Impermanence. Next, contemplate the impermanent nature of phenomena.
Gonamita gyatso lapjijin, gangjung dangdu langte droksuke. Like waves in the ocean, all things are impermanent. I will accept whatever happens and make it my friend.
May we each meet our death with unflinching courage, curiosity, and a sense of adventure, knowing that we are going home. May we come to know that it is only through full embodied acceptance of our own death that we can truly live our lives to their full flowering. May we trust that the acceptance of impermanence and change is also the gift that animates each moment of our lives. The young leopard that held Duncan's gaze for 10 seconds in the middle of a dry, hot, and windy day, and then was gone.
Causes and conditions. Contemplate the interdependence of causes and conditions. Gyuken somna drebunge min pe, lexox en pen lela gang nube. When causes and conditions come together, a result is sure to follow. So I will do my best to help others and engage in positive deeds. May we be present, conscious, and tender towards our loved ones' needs, and keep simplicity and order in our worldly affairs to ease our passing for those we love. May we live in a field of conscious reciprocity and nurture and nourish our web of relationships. May kindness infuse our every thought, word, and action.
The suffering of samsara. Contemplate the dreamlike quality of the suffering of samsara.
Drowe dungel towo senkije, rangi ranji chingle jolwaja. The suffering of beings is mainly produced by the mind. I must free myself from my self-created bonds.
May we cultivate the wisdom to differentiate between natural suffering arising from birth, old age, sickness, and death, and our self-created suffering created by our minds. May we laugh, be mischievous, and playful until the very end, with that special Duncan twinkle in our eyes. And in the words of our teacher, Mingyur Rinpoche, which he wrote on Duncan's shroud, may we all recognize our true nature, our unborn, self-luminous awareness, and come home to Mother Luminosity.
It really is the end, but there's going to be a song. And during that song, I was going to say, sit or walk or go into the tree house, maybe not all at once. But I've changed my mind, and you can definitely go and get a drink. But during the song, if you can just think about Dunks and remember him and help him on his journey, his next journey. Thank you.